Hello. Today I want to do a comparison on two of the black inks that I use with my pen and ink drawings. The first ink I have is Higgins Black Magic Ink, and it's the ink I'm the most familiar with. It's the one I've used the longest. And then I recently purchased Speedball's Super Black India ink. So I thought that I would do a short video and I'll walk you through the similarities and then a few of the differences with them. My name's Holly. Welcome to Autumn River Designs. To make a value scale, I start off by filling 5 wells in my palette with water using my pipette. From here, I'm going to use my dropper, starting with the first well, and drop in 1 drop of water into each well. From there, I'm going to add ink. I start off by adding 1 drop of ink to the first well. Then I move to the second well and add 2 drops. And I work my way around, adding 1 more drop as I go. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 5. Now I'm going to swatch out my card. Starting with the lightest ink and working my way around. The reason I do this is because this is how I set up my palette when I'm going to be doing an ink and wash drawing. It gives me a range to work with. This is a pen and ink drawing that I did, and I have ink wash over top. And that's the great thing about making a value scale, because with ink, it's permanent, and unlike watercolor, it can't be lifted. So generally what I do is I start with my lights and work toward my dark, and this gives me a general idea of how dark the ink can go. As you can see, the Speedball was definitely a darker ink. This is directly out of the bottle, and then I worked my way through. This is the Higgins, which was, I don't know, it came out a little bit lighter. Once I finished with the value scale, I then went ahead and did a swatch card. Now the first one I'm going to show you is the Higgins Black Magic Ink. And this is a swatch card I made. And what I did was I used a brush, dipped it directly into the ink, and I made a mark. And then I used the Crow Quill pen and the same thing. And I drew lines and made marks with that, just so I could see what the ink looks like when it's undiluted, straight out of the bottle. Also, after I finished that, for both the Higgins and the Speedball, I did a pen and ink drawing with a light watercolor wash over top of it. I did it on 100% cotton paper, and I'm going to say each drawing took about 2 hours. I tend to be a slow drawer anyway, so I did a drawing, inked it over, I gave it a little time, and then I put a light wash over it. Honestly, it stood up well. I don't see any smudging or smearing, and I simply love the color. So now we have the Speedball ink, and it's the same as with the Higgins. I did the value scale, and then once I finished with the value scale, I made a swatch card, very similar. I dipped with the brush made a mark, and then I used the Crow Quill pen also to see what the line would look like. I honestly think the Speedball is a darker ink, makes a darker line. And then I went ahead and I did a drawing on 100% cotton paper. And I did this one right here. There was a drawing, let it set up for a little bit of time. Actually, I did this when I was down at a painting group. So, like I said, maybe about 2 hours. And then I did a light wash over top of it. So my final thoughts. I honestly think both inks performed beautifully. I think that the Speedball ink is a darker ink. It makes a more bold statement. So if that's something you're interested in, it might be the ink to go with. It definitely takes watercolor beautifully. I did know, like I said, I think it's a darker ink. But the Higgins ink, I've been using this for years, did beautifully. No problems. It didn't smear, it didn't smudge. It stands up well to watercolor. Maybe you could say it's a more delicate ink, but honestly, I didn't have any issues with it at all. So, it's nice to have a new supply to play with or a new supply to work with. It's nice to have different art supplies in your arsenal. I would recommend either one of these inks if you're going to be doing pen and ink over watercolor.